Hey guys, welcome into the 14. I'm Nick Cole, and we're breaking down Week 6 SEC football from a betting perspective. Today, we're talking about the LSU Tigers visiting the Kentucky Wildcats. This game is going to be played at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Kroger Field in Lexington. The game is going to be televised on the SEC Network. From a betting perspective, this game opened as Kentucky as a 1-point favorite, and it's since moved all the way to Kentucky minus 3.5. The over-under opened at 53.5 and has dropped to 50.5. Bringing in our betting analyst, Christopher Smith. Christopher, what do you make of the movement in this game as the week's gone along?
Well, I think Ed Orgeron's got to be thankful for Urban Meyer because the only thing distracting everybody from how much that things are imploding in Baton Rouge is Urban Meyer right now. So it'll be very, very interesting in Baton Rouge if they don't win this game at Kentucky. It'll be fun from an entertainment standpoint if you're not an LSU fan, maybe even if you are an LSU fan. But anyway, let's look at the injuries and weather and also get into Nick's news and notes as we head into this matchup.
Sure. So let's start with the weather. Shouldn't be much trouble in Lexington this weekend. Maybe about 70 at kickoff, moving into upper 60s for most of the game. No real chance of rain, and our wind's going to be around 5 miles an hour. On the injuries slate, Kentucky wide receiver Josh Ali is out for this game, and nose tackle Marquand McCall may miss the game as well. On the LSU side, everybody's looking at cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. He's out indefinitely and may have played his last snap for LSU as he tries to sort through things with injuries. And obviously, he has a very bright NFL future ahead of him. Safety Major Burns, who leads LSU's defense in snaps played, is also out against Kentucky. So a couple of key members of that LSU secondary are not going to be around for this game. On news and notes standpoint, I want to start with talking about Kentucky and just ask the question, is the good Kentucky back? The last couple of weeks, we started to question our faith in Kentucky's hot start when they barely beat FCS Chattanooga and then had sort of a sleepwalk win at South Carolina, 16-10, something like that. But we sort of answered that question with a resounding, hey, Kentucky is the good version is back. When they played Florida at Kroger Field in week 5, they beat the Gators 20-13 and broke a 35-year losing streak at home against Florida in Lexington. So congrats to the Wildcats on, sort of breaking that curse and getting over that hump. And now we're looking at a team that's 5-0, playing a pretty beatable LSU team. And they've moved into the top 25. And maybe it hasn't been the smoothest ride, but I got to say, Kentucky's holding to the mantra, just win, baby. When you're 5-0 and you're number 16 in the country, things are as good as they've ever been in the Mark Stoops regime here. And so it would be really interesting to see how far up they could climb if they get a win against LSU on Saturday. And then looking at the LSU side of things, you sort of pointed at this already, Christopher, but my question is, at some point, is it really not hyperbole to say that Coach O is coaching for his job?
I mean, I think it's further along than what you're kind of cashing it as. I think Orgeron's already coaching for his job, if it may not already be too late for him. Now, I mean, I'm assuming that they're not pulling anything out of their backsides against Alabama, or that they're not going to play like a national title team the rest of the year. But, interesting trends to note in this matchup. LSU is 7-0 that's against the spread, as a road underdog under Ed Orgeron, and Kentucky is only 34-46-3 against the spread versus SEC teams in the last decade. So they're actually 12 games under 500 in this situation, despite how well that Mark Stoops has built the program. Now look at LSU's offense, and they basically have one thing and one thing alone, and that's Kayshon Boutte. And the thing that I missed about Kentucky last week, and the thing that I think people are probably still missing about Kentucky, is they are number 1 in the nation in preventing plays of 20-plus yards on defense, ahead of Georgia, ahead of everybody. And so it's not going to be as easy for Boutte to hit explosive plays as he did on the first drive against Auburn, as he did against Mississippi State. And, he could probably win one-on-one against anybody on Kentucky's defense. But do you think Kentucky's going to let him be one-on-one for a lot of this game? Because I don't. Auburn played 3 defensive linemen or 3 down linemen a lot of the game against LSU and just dared them to run the ball. And they still couldn't do it. So teams are just going to start throwing extra DBs on the field over and over again against Max Johnson and being like, hey, I dare you to run. And he's going to have to throw into double coverage into traffic. And I don't think that's going to work out super well for LSU. And on the other side of the ball, LSU has a very good pass rush, which we saw them not getting nicks on the ground. But even last week, you saw elements of how good they are at pressuring the passer. But they're going to have to tackle in this game. And that's not something they've really shown a willingness to want to do in the last couple of years. One stat that I found kind of crazy is a shout out to SEC StatCat, who does a really, really good job of breaking down film in the SEC. According to him, Chris Rodriguez leads the SEC in yards after contact with 375. Number 2 only has 282 yards, and that's St. Bigsby. So he's got like 30% more yards after contact than any other running back in the SEC. That's a huge gap. And then in the passing game, Josh Ali, who is the number 2 receiver for Kentucky, and then there's a huge drop off to anybody else, is out of this game. And Wan'Dale Robinson is already the most targeted receiver in the SEC by far, with getting 38.8% of the passes. So like 4 out of 10 times Kentucky drops back to throw, it's going to Wan'Dale. And you'd think maybe that would be helpful for LSU with Josh Ali out, but LSU, as you mentioned, is missing 2 starters in the defensive backfield on their own. And I think this will just only make Kentucky target Robinson more and scheme up more ways to try to get him the football. But Nick, who are you betting on in this game, and what's your total as well?
So first of all, I'd like to say that this is an opportunity to fade me. In my 6-10 week last week shows you that my picks are not on target at this point, and I really don't have a great feeling for this game just because I don't understand who Kentucky is from one week to the next. And then LSU, nobody understands where they're at, right? From what you see from an X's and O's standpoint versus the talent that they have on the roster. It's kind of hard to connect those two anyway. I will say I'm going to bet this game based on what I feel like may be the emotions of the situation. Kentucky coming off a historic win, pushing themselves to 5-0. There's a chance I don't want to say it's a letdown, but just a chance they maybe are emotionally spent from all that it took to break that streak against Florida, right? And then they're staying at home for this game, and you're getting an LSU team who's probably a little bit angry about the way that they lost that Auburn game, and they understand that they're at 3-2. They've lost a conference game already. They understand there's a little bit of fire under their coach's seat. So if there's a reason to be motivated to play and win a game, I think LSU is as motivated as anybody should be. So we'll see if they respond to that. And if I'm getting 3.5 points here to go with it, I'll go ahead and take the Tigers and see what happens here. As far as the total goes, I think I like the under. I think this game will, like you said, LSU doesn't have the playmakers outside of Ute, and I haven't been super impressed with the rushing game there. But Kentucky likes, if they're playing right, likes to play a grinded out type of offense with a solid defense there. So I think points will be at a premium in this game. And I like the fact that we're over 7 total touchdowns here with this number. So give me under 50.5. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm taking under 50.5. And in addition to everything you said, I mean, I think the total and probably the side also is going to depend on explosive plays in this game. Can Butte get some? Can Wan'Dale Robinson get some, or will neither get any? I mean, those are the 2 players to me right there, those 2 guys. If there's going to be explosive plays, it's probably going to be those 2 receivers. So I'm kind of banking on the fact that there's probably not going to be a ton of explosive plays in this game. So I'm going to go with the under. And that also leaves me to go with Kentucky minus 3.5, because actually I think that Kentucky is definitely going to be better at running the ball than LSU is. It's a home game for them. And I think right now they're just the more stable program. So give me Kentucky minus 3.5. Give me the under 50.5. For Nick Cole, I'm Christopher Smith, and we'll talk to you soon.